So can anybody be an entrepreneur? No. So I do not believe everybody can be an entrepreneur. Do I believe everybody can, and they do, work for an entrepreneur? Yeah, every Batman like me needs a Robin.
You listen to this driving in your car today that are doing HVAC and roofs, you're in good shape probably for a while.
You're in great shape. If your child is in the 10th grade and they're looking at a college, you're gonna go and borrow $500,000 to $600,000 worth of student debt for a job that may not even be here in 2 years. Well, no, maybe your kid is gonna realize that, you know what, I'm gonna learn that part of it. But all the baby boomers are going out of business and selling their businesses. They don't have a kid to hand their business down to. So I'm going to acquire 1,900 HVAC companies. I'm going to be a gajillionaire, but I'm going to know it from this standpoint. And then I'm going to roll into it and get money from other places. And I'm going to then hire this industry because nobody's kid wants to be an HVAC person or a plumber when those people are going to be making $200,000-$300,000 a year. It's just how you twist it.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. So today, let's see. I don't know. All of you already know him, so I'm not going to do a long introduction. Literally, all of you know who this man is. I think he is one of, I was thinking about this morning as I was, feeling so good about getting a chance to chat with my friend here. I think he's one of the 10 most important entrepreneurs of this century. Can you imagine that? One of the 10 most important.
I think this guy's about to interview Henry Ford or somebody.
You are, for a variety of reasons, and you know that. He's, you know him from Shark Tank, you know him from FUBU. But here's what I'll tell you that you don't know. He is a tremendous human being. He's a really good man. Been really good to me. When I was shooting a pilot for my TV show, I made a couple phone calls to some people and said, I need your help. He said, how can I do it, brother? Immediately jumped on and helped me film some stuff for a pilot I was doing. And so not only is he a really successful person, I think he's really grown into, somebody that he feels good about and that I admire very, very much. So Daymond John, aka Henry Ford, welcome to the show. Good to have you back.
Thank you. You know what? It is truly an honor that you said that you are truly one of the most amazing people, and the only other person that says something in that realm that made me feel inadequate, even though I know you're giving me love, and I know you're not somebody to say something you don't believe is. There was this young man. He was running for president. His name was Barack Obama, and I was at an event, and he just got the party nomination, and then hey, how you doing? And this is my FUBU days. I was like, hey, I'm Daymond John from FUBU. He said, are you kidding me? One of the greatest entrepreneurs of our time.
That's awesome.
And I was like, this guy's full of crap. And then later on, he would say, we're going to make this country for us, by us. And I was like, he's on to something. Either he's a politician for sure. I was like, he knows what he's doing. But thank you so much for the really amazing intro. And the respect is mutual. And I can't say that I'm like that with most people because you can only pick a couple of people that you can be like that with. And I appreciate being like that with you.
Thank you, my brother. And I'm glad that I could finally validate 44's sentiments with you today. So first things first, I was saying this off camera. You look good. What are you doing?
Thank you, man.
I saw you a few weeks ago. We spoke at the same event together, and I thought the same thing. You walked up, got real close, you hugged me. I'm like, he looks younger or better. What are you doing?
I'm doing everything. I'm a biohacking enthusiast. I am not a scientist, doctor, or anything of that nature. You know way more about health than I do because you get very granular. But I call myself now more like what was the guy who used to travel the world eating food? Anthony Bourdain of biohacking. I'm trying everything. I'm doing everything. I started going down the rabbit hole. I had cancer in 2017. I really didn't. I thought that was a wake up call. I didn't take care of myself because then COVID came around. I was drinking more than ever. My wife, who was an amazing strategic partner, she didn't make it a deal breaker. She just kept looking at me and saying, "Are you okay?" And I saw the disappointment in her eyes. And then I started following some of her protocols, and before you know it, I was red betting and talking to Asprey 1 minute and Gary Brecker the other and Dr. Amen the other and Greenfield the other. And before you know it, every single thing I was looking at, I was like, this is gonna kill me. I'm gonna still eat it, but this is gonna kill me.
My red bed's right here. There's my red bed.
There you go.
I just
I got
injected.
the light system behind me. I got the biocharger over here. It's infectious. You know, you start doing it,
I
the
know.
team starts doing it, you
I
know?
know. I just injected my peptides I got from Greenfield about, I don't know, 30 minutes ago. And Dr. Amen was the last guy I interviewed on the show. So we're very similar on this
Yeah,
stuff. What's working?
we are.
You're to tell the audience something, though. And not everybody can afford all of these things either, unfortunately. I think the more and more people get access to medicine over time, hopefully it becomes something that everybody has access to. Is there something you've done? You're like, look, if you can afford this or you can do it, I recommend X or Y, something definitively that's worked.
As you know, man, you've been on this for a while. 95%, you know, if you get out of this conversation a bunch of gadgets, you wasted your time. 95% of the things that we do have absolutely zero to do with technology. You know, drinking as much water as you can with no chlorine in it. Eating pickles and anything naturally fermented with all of the protein. But more importantly, I fast 30 hours a week. That doesn't cost me anything, right? I do intermittent fasting, and you know that's why I slip up. I'm not an expert, and that's what I say. Like, you know, I don't have great bodies like Ed or Gary Brecker. I'm not going to talk high level. I look at it as we're putting 100 poisons in us a day. Can I get it down to 60? You know, can I go and can I do flossing and making sure the plaque is not going into my system and get thorough about that? Can I put on the blockers so I reduce the blue lights in my home at night? You know, these very simple things that I'm doing is making the big difference because I can't take a biocharger on the road with me and I travel 250 days a year.
Travel that much. You if you have you on, I got to talk business with you. The 95% thing you just said. Is there something that you used to really believe about business that you're like, not anymore? That's irrelevant now. I mean, like an overall philosophy. Like I had a conversation with a realtor in Boston this weekend. His name's George Sark. He's number one dude in Boston. I love this kid. And he knows a lot of people in Boston, right? And I said, George, here's what you're limited by. Business used to be about who you know. Now it's about who knows you. You
Yeah.
got, you got to get the who knows you part down. Something like that. Anything like that that occurs to you, like this used to work, or I used to think it, and I don't anymore.
Well, two things. I think that you need money to make money was one of my philosophies when I didn't have money. And then how did that reverse on me is that when I had a lot of money and FUBU was coming up and I was able to acquire things and do new businesses, I felt throwing money at the business was going to solve it because my ego got in the way. I could throw $6 million at the business. My name is Daymond John. And those are the two things that I learned. Number one, you have to love what you do and you have to be able to roll up the sleeves. If you don't want to be in it yourself, you have to find an amazing partner, distributor, strategic relationship, and whatever the case is, and somehow reward that person and know that that person had 20 years in the business or that person will work 24 hours on this business and figure the it out.
Mhm.
So you can throw as much money at it as you want, but if you ask that question, if money can, you know, you need money to make money, and having money is great. Well, I always say 65% of lotto winners and athletes are bankrupt 3 years after leaving the league or winning the lotto. That means money didn't work for them. And if money worked for everybody, well, then Blockbuster, BlackBerry, and Kodak would still be in business in Party City. It doesn't work for everybody. But you look at Forbes' top wealthiest 1,000 people, 65% of them are self made men and women. That means they were broke, like you and I, how we started out. So it's not money, it's putting in the work. There is no shortcuts. Getting a partner that's going to put in the work, but no matter what, you got to put in the work. The second part about the ego was I thought that my name is just going to get me places. No, you have to work on that name, and everybody is going to sit there and go, "Yeah, you'll go with clothing.
Right.
You're gonna be an author now. You're dyslexic. You can barely even read. That's not gonna work. Oh, you're gonna be an investor. You didn't go to Harvard and Yale. You didn't work at a venture firm for all these periods of time. They will always doubt you until you prove your name and your name walks in that room before you.
Mhm.
People are just gonna push you back. And you have to constantly improve on your name. And it takes you 1 second to destroy it.
Gosh.
you know? So, those are the two things, name and money, IP and money.
How you been with rejection? I was with I was so excited to talk to you because you and I get asked like the same 25 questions most of the time. So I'm like
Yeah.
and some stuff. So I was with my daughter, this thing to Boston I was just talking about, and she's graduated from Clemson. She's going to go into business, and my
Congratulations, man.
yeah, thank you. I'm happy to not be paying for it anymore, and that's the best part. But yeah, I was talking to her about this. I said, Bella, one of the things that I said, I don't know whether you'll make it. You're smart. You work really hard. You don't have that rich kid thing. Like she's a grind. She's willing to get after it and hustle. But I said, I don't. Here's what I don't know. I don't know whether or not you can handle rejection in mass. Like I don't know. And I said that's one of the things that isn't really talked about that much is how does rejection not only affect you, like knock you out, but like wind you, slow you down, make you flinch a little bit. What about that element? Like if you're giving advice to just entrepreneurs in general, business people in general, did it bug you real deep in the beginning and did you have to get over that? Or do you think that's one of your like quiet superpowers of all the rejection you kept steamrolling through it? Or did you have to learn to?
Well, first of all, I'm married, so rejection is something that I face every single morning and every single night. But coming up, I was able to power through it because I looked around and what I accomplished. I thought I didn't. There wasn't social media. I never saw anybody accomplish it at that level.
Mm,
And so I kept going through things, and it wasn't a rejection to me. It was like, holy crap! Out of the 20 times somebody said no, it was like, holy crap! Somebody said yes. Now it's game on.
mm,
And I qualified the rejection. Well, why did they reject me? Well, is it because I'm African American? Is it because I got left back in school? I don't have a history as a designer, and it made me want to give them more reasons to say why this will work. And I had to make it, as they call in Hollywood, an undeniable package, showing them all the things that could work for them. But I'm human. As I came up in the business, and now all of a sudden I have a massive business. I'm doing $350 million a year, this and that, this and that. It seemed like the rejection became more painful and it hurt more because I was like, well, I did this already.
yes.
No, man. You did that, and you know what? You were lucky. And the rejection hurt for about 4 or 5 years, but then I found ways to change that around and go, you know what? If they knew any better, then they would be doing what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Um, you know, it, it you know, if it was that easy, then everybody would be doing it. So again, I had to start really proving it. But it's funny. I saw one time the Obama, and he was interviewing Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark was like, "I still hear no." I was like, "Mark Zuckerberg still hear no?" He said, "Damon, not Damon." He said to Barack. He said, um, "When I came out with something, and I was like, all these kids in Ivy League schools are going to be on this platform." Everybody said, "No way, these kids are too, uppity." Then when he heard, you know what, it's going to grow and I'm going to have all kids at university on, they were like, the Ivy kids are definitely not going to deal with these kids. Then when they heard that high school kids are going to be on it, oh, it's over. Then when they heard a high school kid's going to find out his nana is on the same, or her nana's on the same platform, no way. Then they said, well, you know what? When we're moving from desktops to these little phones, nobody's going to be riding around on this little thing. It's nobody's going to be on it. Then they said, no, in other countries, he still hears no. And he said, I kept thinking somebody's going to build it bigger and better than me, and nobody did. And I said, it, I'm going to do it. So, I still deal with rejection a lot. You're
That
only a
would
guy on
surprise
TV.
people. That would surprise people.
It's funny being a public person, the cheers are big and it's not deserved. That's wrong. And the failures are deep and that's not deserved. That's wrong. It's somewhere in the middle. The rejection's in the middle, the praise is in the middle. And that's where you find, or I find, that I'm very comfortable with it.
Hey guys, new year, new systems, right? This is the time we all look at everything we're doing, the messier parts of our business, and we think, man, there's got to be a better way. And there is, by the way. And it's Quo. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest and easiest ways and quickest upgrade you can make as well. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled QUO, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the number one rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, built for how modern teams work. By the way, 90,000 businesses use Quo, from solo operators, small ones to big ones as well. Rely on Quo to stay connected, professional, and consistently reachable. So make this year when no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/Mylett. That's QUO.com/Mylett. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. You have more humility than when I met you. And it's not to say that you didn't have it, but it was a long time ago that I met you the first time. It was backstage somewhere. I don't remember where it
Yeah.
was. You are already very well known. But it feels to me like the more success you've had, ironically, like almost the more humble you've become. You think that's fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so because it comes with age. You may have met me, Shark Tank has started 17 years ago. And, I looked at the show maybe 1 or 2 seasons and realizing that nobody's going to know who we are as a business show. And, still, hopefully that was the humble
Mhm.
aspect. And then now, 17 years later, every single living president has called me for advice and not for money, every single living one. And, I've met so many great people, but also I've lost so many great people. I lost 28 people in this last 16 months. You know, a couple of them, John Amos, Mr. C, Irv Gotti, Watumbo. And, I got and then I'm just a realist. Why would somebody respect me? Is it money? Well, then you're looking at the wrong guy because if Mark Cuban woke up with my money, he's gonna think he a crackhead. And if Bezos woke up with Mark's money, he gonna think he a crackhead. And if Elon woke up with Bezos' money, he gonna think he a crackhead. Right. So there's always gonna be somebody with a bigger wallet and a bigger brain and a more popularity with you. So again, if you walk in the room and you disarm people and just say, "Yo, I'm a human being," then
Mm.
it's cool. If they don't respect you and value you for who you are right there, you're not going to make them respect and value. They're the wrong person to deal with anyway. They don't respect people, or they respect people for the wrong reasons.
You're so right. I literally just had this conversation this weekend about the levels and what literally use about three of the same names you just used. So here's what I like about Shark Tank. Obviously, it's made entrepreneurship a front and center topic. It's made it sexy. It's given it hope. I think there's more young people aspiring to be entrepreneurs than ever, and I think that show has a lot to do with it culturally. That's why I say you were one of the 10 most important people. You know exactly what I meant. Culturally, to have somebody who looks like you with your level of success on TV every single week in the entrepreneurial space is an important thing, plus all of the success you've had on top of that. So what I said is
I
actually
appreciate that.
it's actually true. It's a fact. And but having said all of that, I also think it's almost made people think two things. Anybody can be an entrepreneur, number one. So I want you to address that. And the other thing is, once guys or ladies get a little bit of money, everybody's become an angel investor. And the vast majority of them aren't very good at it. So one, I want you to speak to the entrepreneurship thing. And two, honestly speaking, had you not invested in any of these deals you found on Shark Tank, but just invested in businesses you drove that were your businesses, would you be wealthier had it just been your money in businesses that you could control and move yourself?
No, you know, I don't, I don't, that last question, ain't nobody asked me that one before.
Hmm.
So, and probably about two of these other questions you haven't. So, can anybody be an entrepreneur? No, no. As simple as that. And that's sometimes the beauty of life, that a lot of people can't be entrepreneurs, but they don't need to be. They're built differently. There are just a lot of people who are not risk takers. They don't have the vision. They have been brought up a different way where their parents told them that this is what success was, and they won't learn that until later on in their life. and they're just built. They're not risk takers. So I do not believe everybody can be an entrepreneur. Do I believe everybody can, and they do, work for an entrepreneur? Yeah, every Batman like me needs a Robin. But I always joke and I say, I need a cap. I'm Captain Kirk, and I need Spock because Robin was 100% a groupie. Anything Batman did. Holy buttermilk, Batman! How do you know you were going to drink poison?
Right, right.
you know. But Spock, I always say that, I say that, I'm Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk was wild. He was a wild boy. He was running around. He was doing everything. We're gonna do this. Sure. Spock would be like, listen here, Captain. It's 4,997 reasons why this is not gonna work. Shut up, Spock. I'm doing it. And you know what Spock would do? He'd put his ass to sleep. And you need the person who's going to check you. You need that person who's going to be that perfect yin and yang. The person who's going to get detail oriented and say, I know you're doing a lot of stuff, and then really hit you sometime to say, now we got to really look at what's working. And so I think that there's a mass. I think there's a mass amount of people who can support entrepreneurs, but I do not think a lot of people could be entrepreneurs because it's a. I, I haven't met any. I've met very few entrepreneurs that were successful on their first venture. They're usually successful on their fourth or fifth, and you have to have a strong rejection muscle to open up a business again after you've been kicked in your teeth.
Fact. All right, now the bigger one. Would you be wealthier had you just deployed the same capital? So you did no Shark Tank deals. You took your capital and put it into businesses that you drove, that you controlled, that were primarily under your influence. Would you be wealthier had you done that?
120%. FUBU would be back at least a 2 to 400 million dollar annual mark now if I did that. And it's about learning again as we opened up. When we first started Shark Tank, nobody knew the show, and the casting agents were casting agents. They didn't sit there and watch hundreds of hours of Kevin and I and the Sharks all negotiating. So, it's like you, Ed, if they brought you in somebody, now somebody brings somebody to Ed and you're a casting agent, and they go, yeah, I'm doing $30 million of business. I have two employees. You're going to say, where exactly are you selling crack? That's what you're going to ask, right? They didn't know what to ask. So they brought us poor deals. And as they brought us poor deals, then we also did not know how to deploy money the right way. We give money right away, give money right away. We didn't say, what are the use of proceeds? We're going to give you X amount of money if you hit this mark, X amount of money, you hit this mark. I paid $750,000 in legal fees just to vet about 10 companies the first year in Shark Tank when I didn't know there was this software, but VCs just put it in and, you know, so we were learning ourselves how to be true angel investors. And we also, then I started to say, well, you know what? I can either deploy, let's say, $1 million a year, or I can pay $150,000, 2 or 3 salaries for somebody who's a licensing person, a salesperson, and I can then get different software, deploy that for about $200,000, and that's able to handle Shark Tank investments and other investments. So when you come to me, I can basically break down what you need. And negotiate the points and options and various other things, the triggers, instead of just
Yeah.
giving money. Well, one of our guys on Shark Tank the first year, he gave $500,000. The lady went off, paid all her bills, and bought a Mercedes. She never said he never. She said, "Listen, I'm gonna take money off the table." Is she wrong? Uh, you know. So we grew to be who we are, on the show, and every day we're learning on how to deploy money different ways. Do I want an advisory seat? I'm not trying to have K1s for 900 companies. I'm going to take an option, so a lot of different things, changed over the years.
So true on the K1s. I just got my last K1 right now for last year. I'm like, dude, it just messes up your taxes. Anyway, that's inside baseball
It
stuff.
does, but I love selling to the people. Listen, you don't hand them in. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to call the IRS for you.
Exactly. That's what I was just
Uh, we'll straighten all that up right
make
now
sure you're
because you're
covered.
not messing up my stuff.
Yeah, then I get audited because you didn't send me the K1 on time.
Correct.
Okay. Now we're in a new world. Like, and I don't even know what it's going to look like. People ask me all the time. I wish I knew. And I'm talking about this. Now we're in an AI world. Not that we
Yeah.
haven't been already. Is there something you're thinking, doing, advice you'd give to entrepreneurs just about navigating this time? I mean, are you familiarizing yourself personally pretty deeply in different, you're not just chat GPT, but Sales AI or Ask Elephant or all these other things that are out there. Like, what's your whole view on where we're going? So listen, I know what it's like to start a new business. I've done it a few times, and let's just be real, it can be really terrifying. Here's the good news. If you see me doing something online business-wise, one thing you can connect it to is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. They do 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Household names to startups like when I started, and also big-time businesses like this podcast now. So get started with your own design studio. Hundreds of ready-to-use templates are there. They help you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. You get efficiency, you get uploading, you can improve your closing ratios. It's packed with AI tools, product descriptions, product photography as well. So it's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/Mylett. Go to shopify.com/Mylett. That's shopify.com/Mylett.
I was speaking for a large corporation, but I've been, getting, as you and I know, we get to peek under the hoods of a lot of large organizations, see what they're doing, and there's a couple of different common discussions that are happening now. Well, of course, talent. What are you doing with talent? How are you reducing your costs and increasing your sales? And somebody said to me, "So, what do you do for a hobby?" And I said, I just thought about it for the last 2 years. I haven't done any of my hobbies because all I'm doing is studying AI. All I'm doing is studying biohacking and I'm studying live selling. Those are the three things that I'm studying. I said, because I need to have a foot up on everybody because this is moving so fast that as a dyslexic, and 8 of the 12 sharks are dyslexic. So now I'm trying to see how can I be more efficient in my communication. How can I look at my legal and professional service costs, and how can I reduce those every single month as AI is moving around? Trademark searches, designing things, decks, this and that, legal. How can I bake more of that information? And how can I teach my team and my team teach me to be more proficient? You have a bunch of questions for attorneys, but if you're using a lot of the AI technology, you have a better pointed question for pointed answers. So how am I utilizing all that? How can I mimic myself and come up with avatars and great content and editing? So I'm doing that all now, and yeah, I'm going to be looking at not reducing my workforce. Most of my friends have reduced their workforce by 30%. I
30.
don't want to reduce my, yeah, 30% due to AI. I don't want to reduce my workforce. I want to triple my business with my current workforce. I want my 30 to 50 people to now do this because this is where all of the opportunity is. And then take that 30 to 50 people and then have five more divisions that are running really well because I love my people. I think this is a great time for people and opportunity. So yeah, full out on AI in this sense. I'm also preparing myself. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm preparing myself for massive disruption in this country and the world when the have-nots start. When most of these jobs for males are operating heavy machinery and trucking and things of that nature, or cars, and they're all going autonomous. When retail is all going, and for a lot of women who, of course, are CEOs and executives, but a lot of the services are now going to be AI, retail and various other things and factories. Where are these people going?
No.
When you can go and get a Tesla robot for $30,000 and forget it for your home, but you use that as your landscaping business because you have three of them. Where are these people going? We're gonna turn into California. I know you live in California, so I'm also
It's
trying
not.
to find ways to protect ourselves because there when they say uh when there's no supplies, conflict will rise.
That's why I bought an island. Um, and I love California, but I just left. But everyone, I want you to lean in. This is one of the smartest people in the world, and you just heard what he just said. I mean, I Do you think Gary, Alon calls it the post-work society? I don't know about that. But what do you think about, and this isn't even in my notes, but since you brought it up, you think guaranteed minimum income is like an inevitability, what Yang used to talk about? Or actually,
I do think it's inevitability.
you do. How long of a window? But do you really believe that we're going to have a guaranteed minimum income at some point? I know you're not positive, but if you were looking at it and you think that's within the next 5 years, 10 years,
I think it's within the next 5 years, and I don't think it's something going to be positive. I think if we looked at what happened when we were, when we were stuck at COVID and there's a big money dump, I see that, drinking went up, and we have too much entertainment on these things right here. And I see that everybody was online for luxury goods. That's the only thing that kind of really, increased. I think that the idle minds in that period of time, in that bridge, is going to be very, very dangerous. I think, um, there's going to be a lot of problems. I think you got to idle mind with a lot of times for people to think and get upset. Um, I think it's a problem.
here's what I think. I think in 5 years, you all could go back and watch what we just talked about. And unfortunately, I completely agree with him on the wealth disparity and on it becoming a cultural, societal, real dramatic issue that may lead to a very dangerous point.
Let's be real. Let's be real. If the jobs are going to decrease and the government's not going to catch up in time, and we're talking about from a state level all the way up to the a higher level, don't you think when and they have the data on how we're moving and what we're talking about and the sentiment, don't you think they're also gonna many people going to use that to their benefit? I really would love to say like all the people here, hopefully you're great people, but there's some bad people in the world, and they create these campaigns and or ways and propaganda, and they know how to tap into what we're doing emotionally now than ever before. And I just think that there's going to be a lot of the when the have-nots don't have anything, and there's 20 people, there's 20 homes on the block, and these 17 homes don't have jobs anymore. They're coming for those three. I was out with Jose Andreas in Abaco when the hurricane had hit maybe about 10 years ago. And I remember we were feeding the people. And I remember somebody said, "Oh my God, that's that person. That person owns this business. That person owns this business. That person's owned this business." And I was like, "Well, why are they online? Why aren't they helping to feed the people?" And they're like, "Oh no, the water came up. The gangsters all went into their homes and took their homes. And they're the homeless ones. It's not the gangsters. They're the ones who are homeless now." So again, I know we're getting into a very dark area, and I hope none of this, zero, happens. But just be aware. You know what I mean? I'm not going to put my head in the sand, and I hope that somehow things are going to move along in a more positive way for all of us. But as entrepreneurs, you and I, we look at not where is it positively going to go, but
Yep.
where is any of the potential, roadblocks, hiccups, hurdles that we may face in business, whether it's life with our health or whether it's, business like that?
Well, this is good for everybody. This is what two real entrepreneurs talk about privately when we're not just trying to be rosy on camera to sound good,
And
right?
this is going on in every single major corporation room right now. I
Yep.
was in another room. You know what they said? They said that these are the real estate investors. They said, the biggest problem we're going to have. It is not going to be the have-nots. It's not going to be the super wealthy. It's going to be that middle compressed, highly educated person that was an attorney that was making 150 to $200,000 a year that has a 2 or 4 year lease, and they know legally how to squat.
Brother, this is so true. This, so everyone, you can just do a SWOT analysis on your life and your company, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If you're not doing this, you're not a thinker. I mean, this is what we're really rifting on right now. I'll give you an idea, you guys. Like, I just did a big estate plan for my family. It's something you'll all do once you acquire some other. I'm changing mine. And I spent a bunch of money to do it. The guy just sent me this big packet of information. My next door neighbor here, I'm looking at his house, did the exact same thing, except he just dumped his documents into an AI that put out the entire plan for him. So if you think this isn't coming, this dude's an estate planning attorney. My neighbor's like, you're still using a human to do that? No offense to all the estate planning attorneys, but I had someone who sells insurance the other day say to me, well, I'm safe because people, I said, I don't know. I don't know. So We should just be, these are the conversations you should be having. And by the way, educating yourself about it, trying to get on the other side of it. And you know what? Society and culture, everybody has a way of sort of organizing itself sometimes. And hopefully it does. But you ought to be ready if it didn't. And you ought to get your family ready. And you ought to get your money ready. And you ought to get your career ready. So,
You
anyway,
are. I mean, end of the day, I mean, the insurance person, you think that down the road, Uber is not going to offer insurance for a private owned vehicle? You think that the hospitals and what are not going to use AI to say, if you like this and that, here, click these buttons and look at your best, and then they'll just compress the insurance, companies down. You know what I mean? It just depends
by the
on,
way, it's amazing how much you and I agree, Damon. So I was just saying this to somebody. It may not eliminate you, but it's going to compress your value to the market. It's
it's
going to
compressed.
compress what it's worth, even in real estate. Look at even some of these online search engines like Realtor.com or Redfin or these other ones, Zillow. They haven't eliminated the industry, but they've compressed the value to some extent of what an agent can charge already. And so this is just the stuff to be thinking about, you guys. And by the way, how to get on the other side of it, how to take advantage of it. You listen to this driving in your car today that are doing HVAC and roofs, you're in good shape probably for a while.
You're in great shape right there, right? And
Yeah.
you know what? If you're somebody who your child, we all grow up a different way. If you're like you said, you thank God you're not paying anymore. But if your child is in the 10th grade and they're looking at a college, you're gonna go and borrow $500,000 to $600,000 worth of student debt for a job that may not even be here in 2 years, or will your job potentially, go and do HVAC, or like my buddy with Crash Champions, go and get paid $75,000 to $80,000 a year to learn a trade. Well, is my kid gonna do crash cars or HVAC? That's what you want them to do for a living? Well, no, maybe your kid is gonna realize that, you know what, I'm gonna learn that part of it, but all the baby boomers are going out of business and selling their businesses. They don't have a kid to hand their business down to. So I'm going to acquire 1,900 HVAC companies. I'm going to be a gajillionaire, but I'm going to know it from this standpoint. And then I'm going to roll into it and get money from other places. And I'm going to then hire this industry because nobody's kid wants to be an HVAC person or a plumber when those people are going to be making $200,000-300,000 a year. It's just how you twist it.
That's exactly right. By the way, I just literally told this kid yesterday who's graduating business school at a very, very prominent school, maybe the most prominent one that you'd all know. And I said, hey, man, don't be opposed to being a plumber because that's where the money's going to be at and owning a bunch of plumbing businesses. Anyway, this is such good stuff. This is why I told you guys what happened when we put Daymond and I together. So, speaking of that, connecting, there's a thing you're doing I want to know more about because I really don't understand it. And I want you to tell us what it is. What is CEO Access? Because I think you're connecting these CEOs, help them expand their brands. Am I right about that? Like, what is exactly that you're doing? Whether you're a founder, CEO, or an HR leader, building a global team usually means you got to decide to set up a local entity or not. And that's exactly why Pebble is here. So you don't have to. Hire the world instantly. Quick question. Are you hiring in another country right now? Because once you do, things get complicated very fast. Trust me, I know. But that's where Pebble can help. You can send offers in minutes to anyone around the world and get them onboarded fast. One thing no one tells you about hiring globally, and I know, is how unclear the cost can be. And it looks simple at first, and then the fees start stacking up. Pebble helps with all of this. Pebble brings clarity with upfront, all-in hiring costs, enables you to hire around the world. Pebble is an AI-powered global human resources platform built for founders or HR leaders, operators who are hiring and supporting teams around the world. Our new standard discounted pricing at $399 US per month per employee helps you contain costs. Go to highpebble.ai to get a free estimate. That's high, Pebl .ai for a free estimate.
It's funny. So, as I learned, I evolved. One day I was talking to one of my CEO buddies, and he said, "Hey, you want to help me brand myself because you know what, I'm finding out that I need to brand myself." I said, "No, this guy's doing like $4 billion a year." I said, "You don't need any help. I'm here. I'm the people's stock. I'm here for the people." And he's like, "Yeah, okay." Now I know this man, and this man has adopted many children. He's done a lot of stuff in life, and he is one of the purest people you'll ever meet. And he said, "But if you help me, then I can help more people." And I said, "Holy, I'm becoming what I'm fighting against." Somebody. And I said, I'll work with you. And so what I decided is like, we only have a limited amount of time. if I go on a Ed Mylett podcast, Ed doesn't need me, next week or next month. But and Ed is sitting there going, who do you have? And I know everybody would love to be with you, but you were like, who do you have in your Rolodex that can talk on this topic on a granular level? Because I need to bring real data. Okay, I got this person. If I go on CNBC, MSNBC, I show people that I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I got the Henry Ford thing. But I know the smartest person in the world. And I bring on this person. And what happens is I share stage with them. So a lot of my CEOs, I've gotten them on cover of success magazines and various other things, but for the right reasons. Guys who are walking and girls who are walking in the room, and the room needs to know who they are before they get in. And like I tell people, if you're not in charge right now, where the day and age is no longer make it, they will come. They want to know who's making it, why you're making it. But CEOs today, they can't go to their executive assistant and say, make me famous for the right reasons. Well, do you hire a publicist? Do you hire this and that? Who's the one who talks to them about estate planning when you now have $1 billion in your bank? Who's the one who talks to them about being non-collectible? So there's a lot of real estate brokers. There's only one Barbara Corcoran. There's a lot of basketball team owners. There's only one Mark Cuban. There's a lot of real estate developers. The most powerful man in the world. Not talking religion or politics here. There's only one Donald Trump. There's only one, Daymond John. Us. I just put a couple of FUBUs on a shirt. You have to be able to brand yourself now, because if not, you're at the mercy of the kid in the mailroom who has 200,000 followers who decide to say you're a racist or a misogynistic pig. You got to go and get spin doctors. Your business is over, and you had to cut 40% of that hardworking staff because you never had a microphone. And so CEOs need to brand themselves. So I've created like a management company for CEOs managed by me and my team and my staff. I'm not only the president, I'm a client. So that's what it is. They treat everybody like they treat me. So that's what CEO Access is. Anybody you think, anybody out there who is interested could potentially qualify, we can only take 2 a year. Check out ceoaccess.com.
Very good, you guys. By the way, it's what I said earlier. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. It's actually both, but this helps with the who you know. Let me ask you this last, by the way. This has been a tremendous conversation. I didn't even know we were going to go in some of these directions, and I'm really grateful that we did. I love that you have such depth and range of topic. I love that about you. What about this idea of community and brand? I'm just trying to think of something that, not everyone's thinking about right now. So you just said for that CEO, obviously them building a brand matters. I feel like I don't know that that's just limited to a CEO. Like in real estate here, I'm in Ponte Vedra Beach. There's a billion realtors, but there's a couple people online that are kind of like become like the mayor of Ponte Vedra type brand. You know what I mean? And I can honestly say, if I was to go sell a house, I'm probably it's the person I see the most regularly. I would probably go to them. So, what about brand building for anybody? Maybe you don't think it needs to be for everybody, and that's completely fine. And then also community. This two things are correlated to me a little bit. How important is it for a company to build a community as it builds its brand, like FUBU did, like Starbucks has? It's kind of a community, right? Those two things for your everyday entrepreneur out there, should they still be working themselves on building a brand and a community themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about the CEOs. I talk about that because that just happens to be where I am and where I can add the most value. But I wrote a whole book on it, right? The brand within. It is for every single person is a brand. So two things. Number one, you are a brand, you are a business. Whether you think of brand as the crest on the shield representing a royal family or a family here, or you being a brand of a family in a church or a family who loves food. Everybody's the brand, and you are personally a brand. You have to be, I always say people have to be able to put themselves in 2 to 5 words. Now it could be 10 words. But if you can't define the 2 to 5 words who you are, well, then you walk into the room, you leave it up to other people to interpret. And why is that more powerful now than ever before? Because we're no longer shaking your hand and looking you in the eye and call your references. We're all looking at you through this. So we're checking you out before you walk into that room. And who is working for you as a founder or in your family? When I'm following them, I don't know if they're talking on their personal time or your time. we have the freedom of speech in this country, but when your child is talking about you or talking about their life, I'm looking at the family's brand, right? The child is brilliant, the child is smart, the child is nice, the child is cordial, or the child's an animal. Who the hell? It's their parents. Let me see what's going on at home. So you are personal brand. Community, 100%. The number one product in Shark Tank history, and it's mine, out of all 54 Shark Tanks around the world, is Bombas socks. It's a sock. They do $2.7 billion this year, hit that mark. And why? Every pair of socks they make, product is king, but they give a pair away to those in the homeless community. Now, they don't just give them away. They're in the communities. They know the directors. They know the people. And so, as a community, brands are community. Don't think that your brand has to be or your community has to be polished and great. Old Dirty Bastard was an old dirty bastard and he knew his community. Wu Tang was a certain way. But you have a brand. Let's talk about brands really quick. Well, you have this one that's in Bloomingdale or Louis Vuitton. It's the greatest brand. You're only going to see one of these white shirts ever. Meanwhile, they got 100 in the back, and you pay $200 for that white shirt. All right, you go to Macy's. Well, I want this white shirt. It has a polo horse. It looks like a guy playing horse, and I'm going to look like I'm sexy, in a horse on a yacht. You pay about $70 for that. And that brand, you see other people wearing it, you know where they're from. And then there's the person who's like, I don't care about all that stuff. I'm a slob, and I'm gonna buy three white T-shirts for a pack in a pack for $20. And when I spill crap on it, I don't care. By the time you bought that one Louis Vuitton one, I got 100 shirts, and I give it away to those in the homeless community. Even the people out there who you in California. I'm a tree hugger. Don't get me wrong. I'm a tree hugger, and I'm about to save the planet. But you're gonna still see me around with my Land Rover, my Yeti bucket, my North Face. I'm gonna be hugging trees, looking good. It's still a brand. So again, we are all communities and brands.
Was this good, you guys, or what? Like sometimes at the end of the show, I go, hey, share the episode. I don't need to ask anybody to do that today. This is going to several million people, I guarantee you. This is like why I do the show. By the way, everyone, you won't see this then, but it's he and I. We're 4 days before Christmas, and we're both still in the hunt right now. Those of you
Oh
that are
yeah.
entrepreneurs that are on your 3 week, whatever trip you're on, just so you know, maybe success leaves clues. We're both grinding on the week of Christmas. Daymond, this was so good. I'm really grateful that you did this. We had a great show the other times. This is awesome right here, brother. So
Oh,
thank you so much
I
for.
love you, man. I wish we get to spend more time. We're always in passing, and I check on you, and we ask all our friends. I'm going down to Dan Fleischman's over at the Kaseya Center, handing out 30,000 toys to kids right now. I'm going to head down there, man. But I'm always really impressed by you. You are just such an amazing human being and such a powerful, powerful speaker, communicator, and man. Anytime, and let's. I don't want to do the Hollywood. Let's just try to get together, but let's just try to get together whenever we can, brother.
I love you, brher. God bless you.
All
Merry
right.
Christmas. All right. Thank you, everybody. Share the episode. Max out.